Anyways, gonna start the show in 3, 2, 1. Welcome back, everyone, to the Campaign Roundtable. I'm Garrett Weinzerl.
I'm Mike Doherty.
And I'm Kyle Ferguson.
And this is the cast where we dive into the depths that is the story of video games. And we are once again here at our Heart of the Swarm campaign discussion, part 4. This is the second to last episode we'll be doing of Heart of the Swarm. We'll be taking a little break and coming back with a proper first season where we'll be covering multiple games over the course of 10 episodes. How you guys doing this week?
Kyle, would you care to go?
I'm doing quite well. I really enjoyed, it's been a few weeks since I beat the game now, so I enjoyed going back through the game, and of course just what the hell raffle stomping the whole thing on casual, which kind of sucks that they turned down the speed though, because you want to enjoy a nice destruction, thousands of ultralists in these levels we play today, but man, it goes down to slow.
That's the thing that really maddens me with the campaign of StarCraft. You would think you'd be able to pick your difficulty, but also your game speed.
It just seems odd because it's a constant. So I've never felt like learning to play should depend on how fast you're going. It should be other tricks that you're using. Much like on StarCast, LZ Gamer was talking about just building tons of hatcheries when you don't really need them so you can spend your money.
Which I may have been doing all week since talking to him, because we've been playing a lot of Zerg.
Oh, I've been losing so hard this whole week.
Oh, that's no good. Yeah, I've had no luck in my team games. I've played with you and lost miserably, and then I played with Octane Pro and lost miserably, and played with Ben and lost miserably. So, and I'm sure if I played with Mike, well, we might get into bronze because Mike is so bad that I might be able to carry us. I'm not sure.
Maybe. Beginner's luck might factor in a little bit there.
We would just get really unlucky and get 5 disconnects in a row, and then we would get placed in the Grand Masters, and it would just be no fun at all. But anyways, that's no fun. I've been playing BioShock Infinite because, like I said last week, everyone, including hobos, have been telling me how good it is. So I decided to pick it up, and. Well, let's just say it's so good it's going to be hard not to talk about it on this show, which should have nothing to do with it. So,
well, this show as a total, I'm sure we'll be talking about it at some point.
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
I've been biting my lip the whole time. That's probably why I let Kyle go first anyway, because I probably would have started blathering on about BioShock. But it's just really fascinating.
But yeah, okay, Mike, you're probably the most cynical person I know. Am I right? Is this like the most ridiculously good game we've had in a long time?
I'm actually going to piss a hell of a lot of people off and say I thought Tomb Raider was a more complete package.
Really?
This is why I didn't want to talk about it, because it's going to go kaboom! Everyone's going to be like,
really?
Okay. I thought Tomb Raider, I thought it was a more complete package, more well-rounded, more solid storyline, not because it's like so much better, but because they didn't go for quite as cray-cray of a story, and
you are not allowed on the show again for using the term cray-cray.
For crazy, for out of its mind, for out of your mind.
Yeah.
There's a lot of the stuff there where it's just kind of like, if you really think about it, not sure if it adds up. Maybe people could argue that point. I'm sure we will be arguing that point at some point in the near future. But I think Tomb Raider, they tried to reach for less, and they gained a more solid hold on what they had because of that. That's just me.
Well,
I haven't.
Having not played it, I played Tomb Raider, but not BioShock Infinite. Tomb Raider is an origin story, so of course we're going to have exactly what you're saying. Whereas BioShock's always been about, oh my god, I just got off the train, look at this crazy world I'm in.
Just go on like an hour-long conversation about this. So let's just let's change that subject.
Okay, all right.
After I beat BioShock Infinite, I've gone through and started playing the Mass Effect series from the beginning. And I've
that
been
first game can
kind
be
of
rough.
Hilariously enjoying that. Like it's kind of silly because I'm going through the first one and I'm playing it on easy, So I'm just running around with a shotgun and all the fights, like, you get a bullet, and you get a bullet, and you get a bullet. Like, there's no strategy whatsoever. And it's just really fun. And I could see how someone could just make a comic about, like, all the different interactions in that game and just choosing not even, like, the renegade choice, but just, like, what's the keeping it real choice? What's the most ridiculous choice you can make in all of these? And it would just be hilarious. I can't even think of...
that poor news reporter lady, I've punched her out I don't know how many times.
Well, it's like, you know, you're starting the game on Sentinel, and, you know, they've just given you the thing, like, you got to save the galaxy. And what's the next thing you get? You get, like, the Asani lady who's all just like, somebody's talking some mean stuff about me. Could you go help it out? The dude's, like, in a bar somewhere. I don't know. And, you know, if it was me, I'd be like, all right, everybody, you heard that. I'm going to stop my journey to save the galaxy to help this chick's reputation right over here. Let's all just realize that this is time should be spent saving the galaxy, helping out this lady.
Dude, after that little preview, I can't wait till our Mass Effect episode. That's all I have to say. I cannot wait. Kyle, as you know, Mike, you know, Kyle and I are both kind of diehard fans of the series, so
you know, yeah,
I can't wait to take a swim in your haterade.
Everybody always thinks I'm so hateful about this kind of stuff. It's not hate. It's like, well, you and Katie, you love the heck out of each other, but you give each other so much shit.
That's why we get along. She's the only girl that can just stand toe-to-toe with me on a cynical, sarcastic level.
But that's just it. It's the same thing with Mass Effect. I don't hate it, but there are so many good things to just pick at that it's just so much more fun that way.
Oh, that's great. Thank you for calling my relationship into this analogy. I really appreciate it.
It's the only thing I could really think of that would even come close.
Squabby in the chat room says, doesn't let Mike say cray-cray, uses the word haterade. You're damn right. I'm Scumbag Garrett all up in this hizzy. Anyways, we've gotten very far off topic. We are, of course, here to talk Heart of the Swarm, talk StarCraft, give you a quick recap. Last week we talked about the Charr missions. As Infested Kerrigan, we've already been through Xeris. We've been inside the Chrysalis. We are, once again, the Queen of Blades with slight pink highlight improvements. She kind of went and got her carapace pimped. And then, we went to Charr. We killed General Warfield, which made me really sad. And now here we are on Skygeirr. Which is it's funny to look at it spelt, and then it's just like Skygeirr.
Skygeirr.
We're Gar.
Gar.
Yeah. This might be my favorite just section of the game, because remember, Kyle, when we were on StarCast and we were talking about our hopes for Heart of the Swarm, remember I was saying, you know, if we want one thing for Heart of the Swarm, what do we want that kind of, you know, I was like, I want like a, you know, a love letter to the original StarCraft. I want missions where I am crawling through science facilities. I want Terran scientific conspiracy crazy stuff, and that is exactly what we got with Skygeirr, and it was a much larger helping than I was expecting to get.
Most certainly. A lot of these missions, particularly in Brood War original StarCraft, you would dock up, unleash maybe 5 Marines in, and then you had to go to point A, point B, hit the teleporter, and that was it. And then you'd be back to a normal level, sitting on some planet, building up your machines again.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I mean, could you imagine if we did a side-by-side comparison of the way the campaign is handled in StarCraft 2 and the way it was handled in the original? I mean, there was, like, very little... The person you were playing, it was just like... I mean, remember all the in-betweens? It was just scrolling text in some kind of hub room.
Yeah, and then the in-game sort of cutscenes, if you want to call it that, would be the player or Kerrigan flying in on an overlord, getting dropped out, having a conversation, and then flying away. Sometimes she'd come up and yell at you and be like, Cerebrate, get your shit together, get going. But other than that, you really had no interaction with the player. As in this case, you are supposed to be Kerrigan. So the story is a lot more personal. And when characters come in and deal with Kerrigan, it doesn't seem like you're just sitting in on the call.
Right. If you are kind of in her shoes, even if you are in God view.
I think you've probably brought up one of the biggest changes in StarCraft. Right there is the fact that you're not playing some commander dude or anything like that who's under the orders of whatever. You're pretty much playing the main character. You're either, you're playing Raynor or you're playing Kerrigan.
Yep.
Like, that's a really good. I hadn't even thought about that, but that's a really good point.
Well, even in Wings of Liberty, we had, Jim saying, let's get these bunkers built. Whereas here, we are most certainly, I'm going to build a bunker. And then you sit there and go, oh, you mean me? You mean us? Like royal we.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. But yeah, it's crazy to think about. Anyway, let's get into Skygeirr, man. So we make it to this planet. First off, got to do the artist rant. This installation in the side of the cliff looks awesome.
I'm really curious to know, because the second you beat whatever your last planet was, you were introduced with this choice to go into Dominion space and start working to save Jim, or answer the mysterious, awesome call from some infested dude. I'm curious to know who went which way. So I certainly went straight for the infested dude calling me up.
Me too. Mike?
I did, but I thought I really kind of didn't, but that I was still just kind of like, I got to know who's calling me. Who's booty calling Kerrigan over here?
Yeah, and again, we kind of touched on this last week. The order in which you play through this game really kind of changes up your personal view of the story arc, and I think it would be so strange, knowing how this game ends, to do Terran space before Skygeirr. Just the flow, because I spoiler alert, the events of Terran space, I think, factor directly into the end of this game.
Well, and not to mention a whole cutscene where she freaks out on a guy who's not Jim. But we'll get to that.
Yeah.
Good point there, yeah.
Yeah.
But I guess it'd still be emotionally jarring.
Yeah.
All the same. You show up on the planet, and the second you do, you go straight into a cutscene.
I am Alexis Stukov. We were enemies once.
Well, we both seem to be Zerg now.
Indeed. And we share a common goal, the destruction of this facility. It is here that Mengsk breeds the hybrid, combining Protoss and Zerg DNA to create monstrous creatures of immense power.
Entity responsible
pardon me.
for
Way to go.
chemical warfare.
Oh, no, I'm doing it again. All right, we're okay. We're okay.
Everybody's just photobombing everything.
Yeah, he's just like, I will get in here, man. What's Stukov's first name? Alexei? Is that
Alexei.
it? Alexei. Man, you got to look that badass if your first name is Alexei. I would not make fun of him for it. Just saying. Stukov might be in the running for my favorite new StarCraft 2 character. I know, Kyle, yours is Abathur, right?
Well, most certainly.
Okay, Stukov for me, hands down. Gotta love the Russian battlecruiser captains, man. That's I'm all for that.
Yeah, it's really close between Abathur and Stukov for me. Definitely. I don't even. It might. Can I just have both? I want both. You can do both.
We'll let you have it.
Okay.
To this point, I mean, we never control Abathur outside the ship. Dehaka's been hanging out on our ship for a long time, but he's got a lot to say, but not much to do. Pretty much from the second, in the second mission that we show up, we get to immediately control Stukov and have our new hero. For the first mission here, we're just moving on, trying to break in the facility, Kerrigan all by herself. And, of course, the Swarm.
Yes, of course the Swarm. Come on, man. Come on. So this first mission, which... Have I declared my favorite mission yet? Because this might be it.
No, I don't think you have, so it's yours.
Okay, I'm pretty sure... I'm pretty damn sure Infested is my favorite mission. And I will tell you why. The fact that the whole gimmick, or the whole point of this level, you have infestors and you need to infest nodes that create an endless conga line of spawning infested Terran, just warms my heart.
Yeah, it's like being on the opposite side of Left 4 Dead. You get to be one of the super zombies.
Yeah, more or less, man. It was just great, and the whole thing is just spread, creep, infest, Terran node, spread, creep, infest, Terran node, and by the end of it, if you could play God in Dota and you were in charge of the creeps, like spawn. Like, that's what it feels like. It's like, I am Dota, and the other side doesn't have creeps. This is wonderful.
Well, and when you infested the Protoss ship, it had that same feeling. It's because Blizzard has captured this idea of something so small. I mean, 4 infestors snaking their way into a complex, and one that is supposed to be heavily armed. Even at the beginning of this mission, they say the second most armed place in all of the Cthulhu sector. The first being the capital on Core Hall.
Yeah. Cthulhu. There's an R in there. It's not just Cthulhu.
Really? I've been saying that for years.
No, there's an R in there.
Cthulhu. All right. All right, made up galaxy. Excuse me.
Just call it Kapupu if you'd like. I mean,
sure, let's do that. It's
Or
classic.
you can make it Star Wars Caputo.
That's okay. Anyways.
But I mean, reasons like this are why I love Abathur. Because you show up, you start infesting, and they start shooting gas out.
Chemical warfare. Efficient delivery mechanism.
Like that heartlessness. You gotta love him.
Yeah. It's funny, you brought up a point that I think is interesting, because about how 4 infestors and then the whole place is just compromise. Because up until this point, playing as Zerg, I don't really think we ever got that. I don't ever think we got a good representation of just how volatile the Zerg are. I always looked at the Protoss as kind of overdoing it. Like, there's a single Zerg, larva on this planet. We must glass the entire surface. I was always like, go a little far, guys. But now, after playing through Heart of the Swarm, I'm like, oh, okay. One little larva takes down a whole capital ship of the Protoss, or 4 infestors takes down the second most heavily guarded Terran installation in the freaking galaxy.
Well, let's talk about this infestor here. They are awesome. Neural Parasite is a neural spear that is permanent for this level. For the rest of the game, in fact, with the Fester. They are awesome.
Yeah, it's very much like the Queen in Heart of the Swarm. In the campaign, the Queen has that auto heal that just makes them amazing, and you don't need to inject larvae, so all you want to do is just carry them around with your army. Having infestors with permaneural is just another one of those things like, oh my god, I would love to have this in multiplayer.
And Consume.
Yes. Yeah, Consume's another really good one.
Yeah. So amazingly fun, broken fun. Grammar no work. Good. Bunga.
Yeah, that's no good. So anyways, you get the idea for the mission. So I think we can move on from Infest. The bottom line is I love this mission to death. It's good stuff. So the next mission is Hand of Darkness, and this is where we enter the lab, if you will.
Which is huge. I mean, not only can you bring Mutalisk into this lab, there are Vikings flying around inside. There's Thors taking up no space at all. I mean, it's supposed to be an old-ass cave, of course, that they have built this facility on top of.
Yeah, and once you find out what their prime directive is, you're kind of understand. I had the same reaction when I first got in. I'm like, what the hell? Why can I make it Mutalisk inside what should be a science facility mission? And you're like, oh, they're making hybrids. Okay, there we go. This kind of, I don't know, I got a feel of the secret mission from Wings of Liberty in this one, Kyle. What about you?
Oh, when you were running around the facility? Yeah, that was a hero mission, but this one was a lot like that. You just happen to have a base. Whenever the hybrid would show up, a timer would start going because they were sucking psi energy out of Kerrigan and were going to kill her unless you defeated them in about 4 minutes each.
Which I don't know about you guys, I had no issue doing.
No issue whatsoever. In fact, I don't think I lost a single
Brutalisk?
Brutalisk, that's the one.
The guys you're getting free. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was kind of stoked. Were you happy you could finally control a Brutalisk, Kyle? Even though they're still one of the dumbest looking models in the game.
They look a lot like those nightmare beasts I was talking about last week that live here in Chicago, but they are silly. I mean, when you play a custom game and you realize how amazing, awesome their anti-air attack is, you don't think they're so silly anymore. But just walking around, yeah, they're silly looking.
Gotcha. Yeah, they do kind of look like lurkers. Chat room. That's a good point. But this is also where we first talked to Dr. Narud the first time since Wings of Liberty. And now, refresh my memory, Kyle, because Kerrigan doesn't necessarily have a recollection of her time as the Queen of Blades. Does she even remember him? I don't think she does.
No, there's a few continuity issues throughout this mission in particular. The entire time we're on this planet, Blizzard is setting up for Legacy of the Void, and it comes on really strong. I think if there is a point where the story falters a bit, it's because they need to set up hardcore for the next expansion here.
And how so? Expand upon that. You're talking about just with all the hybrid mess that they had going on?
Yeah, well, I'm capturing clips for the show, and I'm realizing I got about 20 different clips explaining what a hybrid is over 3 missions, and on easy, I did these in under an hour. So you are bombarded with information about hybrids.
Yeah.
Granted, if you've been paying attention since Brood War, there was that secret mission. There was the Duran plot going on in the background. In fact, I actually went back into Brood War and grabbed the quote where Duran, Narud, reveals himself to be more than just some random ghost that's been helping out. So here's that clip. He's talking to Zeratul here. Zeratul, in this secret mission, finds the very first hybrid container, and you run around in this mission destroying them.
Gotcha.
I am a servant of a far greater power. A power that has slept for countless ages and is reflected in the creature within that cell.
Have you any conception of what you've created here? Do you have any idea what this hybrid is capable of?
Of course I do. This creature is the completion of a cycle. Its role in the cosmic order was preordained when the stars were young, or the culmination of your history.
All I behold is an abomination.
I apologize to anyone out there. I just set mad flashbacks because of the background music.
And I say that their acting coaches have gotten a little better since then.
Sure.
Yeah, just a little bit.
I mean, the fact that the game had built-in audio, that you weren't reading text, was a feat.
Good point.
I thought that's really hard because they still do it in Zelda.
Yeah.
Warp.
That's stylized. It's too many language. They're transcending cultures.
I have to take a little jab only because I love Zelda so much. Anyways, yeah. So, and the other thing I was kind of surprised with is they never had him come out and say, "Ha-ha! I was Duran all along." It never happened.
No, and we're talking about this mission as a whole here, so let's go ahead and do that. Let's, kind of capsule the Duran character. You meet him here, but posing as Narud. In the previous game, he was posing as what was the organization called? Mobius Foundation. The Mobius Foundation, he was the leader of it, a group of scientists that were working to organize and gather Xel'Naga artifacts for some purpose.
Yeah, and in Brood War, he was posing as a ghost.
Yes. So he is a shapeshifter of some kind, and he is a servant of some greater, darker power, which building hybrids is a key to unlocking.
Yeah, and we're at this point we're pretty much aware that it's Amon, correct? It's kind of the entity that he is serving.
Yeah, let's see if I can find. Here we go.
I touched Narud's mind in there. I sensed his devotion to this Amon. Narud's been trying to resurrect his master for millennia.
It makes sense. The endless conflict between Protoss and Zerg, the hybrid, all part of a plan to bring Amon back.
Well,
Okay.
a bit of an understatement by Blizzard of him going, "Oh, it all makes sense." No, not exactly. It's a little confusing, Blizzard, but
Yeah.
Sure, let's run with this.
They just gave Narud a hell of a lot of credit. that whole thing there, that was like an optional thing. You didn't even have to hear that little explanation, which is interesting. I mean, they're talking about the Xel'Naga device They're going to use the Xel'Naga device, or they did use the Xel'Naga device when it was fired to bring Kerrigan back to human form. Mm-hmm. And then they were using the hybrid, who just, I guess, were hiding in the 3 bushes on the planet of Char, just waiting for them to use the device so that they could suck off all the power that was being purged off of Kerrigan when she was being made back to human, and then take that power and go res Amon with it. It's like, that is a pretty flimsy sounding premise. I think that's probably why they made that optional. Like, they just wanted you to not think too terribly hard about that. Especially making it where they don't even come out and say for real about it. They just make it kind of a theory that Alexei Stukov has, which is always the better way to go around that. If they just came out and said, this is how it happened, it would sound really flimsy. But because it's a theory that a character has, I mean, we have to assume that is exactly what happened, because nobody bothers to ever come up with a wrong theory in a story where people hypothesize about how something happened. It never really seems to work that way. But I think they just had to kind of cover their bases.
The way it was released, though, we had StarCraft, Brood War coming out almost the same year. I think even the same year, about 8 months apart. Then you have StarCraft Legacy, these downloadable games. It's included on the N64 version if anyone wants to play through that. But you can also download it. It was updated through Battle.net when they started putting that out with Brood War and making sure things were going well. So you can go in there and find the bonus missions that have a lot to do with Stukov, a lot to do with Duran. And this, the clip I played was from Brood War proper. But it seemed like they were going to do StarCraft, Brood War, and then keep things going, or maybe even make an episodic format that was going to explain this story much more clear over a longer period of time. Now we find ourselves out of the Terran mission, where all this hocus pocus seems kind of weird. And now we're in Zergland, where it's controlled by someone who's using their mind powers, and she slept in a pool, and now she's super, things are a bit more fantastic. So it's an easier realm for us to accept a dark god coming from beyond, powered by the excess explosion of Kerrigan.
Yeah. Well, I'm not saying that that's flimsy. I'm saying the fact that Narud planned the whole thing. That's the part that's just kind of
seems a little too convenient.
Exactly. Narud's kind of like this weird side character. He just comes out of nowhere, and all of a sudden, he's the mastermind behind everything?
Well, it didn't come out of nowhere. He was in Wings of Liberty as well.
Yeah, but...
And he was directly responsible for the Xel'Naga artifact.
Sort of. But he had, maybe 2 paragraphs of dialogue.
Not sort of, though. It was him. I mean, yes, Valerian was involved too, but it was all the Mobius Foundation. Valerian wouldn't have known jack squat.
I'm just saying, he's like an absent villain. He is just not around. And you don't even know he's a villain in the first one. You just kind of wonder, okay, what's up with this dude? We don't really see him that much, and then he's gone. Other than that, you don't even really think he's evil.
Anyone who played the original StarCraft did. All of us were
Narud
Duran! Hooray!
Okay, well, to the people like me who are coming in and playing these games fresh, no.
There is something cool.
You don't have to spell it out. I'm not saying you have to spell things out to me and be like, this guy's really evil. But if he's going to be the guy who's planning everything, have him show up every now and then. I mean, it's just like having He-Man doing nothing, and all of a sudden Skeletor shows up 50 episodes in and Ben's like, I was the bad guy the whole time, He-Man. And then goes away again.
There is something to be said about him pushing and pulling strings from afar that gives him this otherworldly power. Mm-hmm. But, I mean, you're absolutely right. We don't engage him in any sort of single combat outside of the cutscene in this game. Squavi in the chat brings up an interesting point that he says he is the last servant. So, we're taking it as fact that Duran flipped his name, became Narud. They're one and the same. But it could be that there are multiple servants and all just don't name themselves very well, like Dracula.
Or Amon, who created them, is just not that creative with names.
Sure.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, Hydralis, Zergling, there's kind of a theme going on here.
Well, we also don't know if that's their actual name. It could just be what the Terran decided to call them.
Well, I mean, should we just watch out in the next game for anybody named Noma? It's gonna be Amon! It's gonna be Amon!
Yeah. I don't think there's going to be much sneaking in the next game.
No, since it's the last one. So I think we're going to just, this is what it is. Go. But, yeah. Runad in the chat room. Yes, that'll be the next guy we have to deal with. But, anyway, so the next mission, Phantoms of the Void. I'm going to try really, really hard, guys, okay? Look at me, I'm being sincere, to not just make every word that comes out of my mouth about this mission be a joke about either Harry Potter or Dragon Ball Z.
Yes. Yep, it is tough.
I completely forgot about the Harry Potter, but yeah, it was all about the DBZ for me.
Yeah, or even a recent episode of Doctor Who I watched. Anyways.
But there's also this in it.
Ultralisk reconstituted. Ultimate expression of swarm evolution.
Ultimate
Ultralisk.
expression, my friends.
Yeah, that whole thing right there was just another one of those head-scratching, like, what? Why didn't they do that with that one brood queen on the frozen planet? She's frozen. She's probably in really good condition over there. And they
She
didn't
wasn't
do
the
like,
ultimate expression.
But I don't think they were saying the Ultralisk was the ultimate expression of blah, blah, blah.
That's exactly
Just-
what he just said.
No, I mean,
Kyle,
to
play
me,
the
it
clip.
sounded like he said that reconstituting was the ultimate expression of Zerg, blah, 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 blah.
No.
It was just like, we can just take this puddle that's what's left of the Zergling here and put it back together.
No,
because we're Zerg and we roll like that.
That's not what he was saying.
No?
Ultralisk reconstituted. Ultimate expression of swarm.
Okay, I can see where you get it. But we do unlock a upgrade for the Ultralisk that allows him to come back from the dead once. So
Yeah.
it's built
awesome, by the way.
I didn't see that. If I had not see it, like grammatically, if he had said Ultralisk reconstitution.
Grammatically or grammatically? Thank you for screwing up.
It's Zerg
the
grammar.
word about
we don't have any grammarlings around it.
I don't usually call you out on that, but when the word that you create that doesn't exist has the word grammar in it, you deserve to be publicly flogged.
I
Oh,
will make
man.
that word official. But in the meantime, if they had said, God, what? Ultralisk reconstitution, not Ultralisk reconstituted. That just means like, hey, we built him back up. It's the ultimate expression of Zerg because we're badass like that.
Okay.
If they had said ultimate reconstitution is the ultimate expression of blah blah blah.
All right, this has gone too far. We've delved far too deep into your idiotic rabbit hole. Again, if you are even remotely familiar with StarCraft going into this, you know that the Ultralisk is the most horrifying thing to ever grace the universe. So,
It's their T-Rex.
exactly. Anyways, moving forward, Kyle, how excited were you, Mr. Ultralisk?
I was very excited.
So, which of the upgrades did you end up going with, Kyle? Did you go with the resurrection, or what was the other one? It like plagued everything it hit, or something?
Yeah, the other one was cool, but by that point, I had so many buttons to press and other units to manage that I like my Ultralisk just to go and enjoy the slaughter. So it was really cool, like the Baneling sort of explosions that they could do out of their little pustules on their back, but you had to actively press the button to make them do it. Whereas the Torask upgrade, kind of close to my gamer tag anyway, not exactly, but the Torask upgrade was what gave them a revival every 60 seconds. That combined with the ability to do lifesteal on hit. Well, if you're familiar with Dota, I felt like the Skeleton King the whole time.
That's a good point.
I don't even think I did the optional missions at that point. I was just kind of like, I just want to see the narrative. I don't even care about pimping my guys out anymore.
I did do them, but I ended up like not using. Like I barely used infestors. I definitely used Ultralisk, but everything you got like past the halfway, I was barely using because I just wanted stuff I could mass and just a move.
Or you had already decided what you were into. Like I was mega into Impalers by this point in the game. Impalers and swarm hosts. That's pretty much all I had. And by this point, I'm teleporting my swarm hosts around, so I'm just spreading creep and enjoying myself.
Yeah.
On my second playthrough here, it was nothing but Ultralisk and Mutalisk, and it was a blast, and it destroyed.
Yeah, it was good stuff. I sprinkled in some Brood Lords towards the end of the game, but nonetheless.
And for next week, my favorite part about the Ultralisk was how they destroyed light poles when they ran down the street.
Yes, yeah, I noticed that. I was like, oh, that's cool. And they like stomped cars, and anything that was destructible would just break anytime they got near.
Well, it's like running around in that gigantic Thor. Was it Odin in the last one?
Yep.
Yeah.
Well, the thing that made me mad about that is you never actually got to control Odin. You just had to follow it around. While Tychus left his mic active and like took a dump in his suit or whatever.
The first one, but when you actually go to the capital,
oh, you're right.
Run around for like a couple minutes.
You're right. I
awesome joyriding.
Yeah. The core hall mission.
Yeah.
So okay, you're indeed correct.
Now, was I the only one who started Phantoms of the Void and immediately had to restart because Kerrigan got taken away from me, and I went, oh, well, I should only do passive abilities then.
Wow.
No, but I'm playing through again, and I haven't gotten to this point yet, so I know what I'm doing now.
Yeah.
So thanks
I
for
guess
that, Kyle.
if you're playing on the hardcore or something like that, or brutal, then you'd probably want to do that.
This is
But
probably,
it was
sorry, go ahead.
Oh, I was about to dive onto the next topic, so keep it going.
I was just going to say this is probably one of the hardest missions because you can't control Kerrigan.
Yeah.
Yeah, but Stukov kicks ass. I mean, he can summon infested Terrans at a whim. It does a giant blast that not only decreases armor, but just does huge damage. And it's available while he's channeling, taking out these Xel'Naga towers or temples in the area that are funding Narud's power. And he has this big ghost Xel'Naga that comes out of him. Is it the face of Amon? I don't think so. It didn't look like the Dark Voice. It was very Cthulhu-esque with some tentacles for a mouth.
Yeah. I think what I did was definitely, I went with Mutalisks for this one. I like the air support, could go anywhere I needed. Like if it were, like I just had 40 of them, just in a big pack. If anything was heading towards my base, go annihilate them real quick, go right back to what I was doing. So I was just wiping out the whole map, no problem.
Yeah.
Well, and we've had so many missions that have, like, oh no, they're going to invade in 30 minutes, or you need to destroy these to slow down the advancement of something coming in. But it was real cool to have the physical representation of the dueling wands happening in the middle of the map.
Yeah, that was the joke I was trying to make. Yeah, you've got Narud and Kerrigan. Were they floating or standing on platforms?
No, they were up on platforms.
They were standing on platforms, shooting energy at each other. It just looked like Goku versus Frieza with the energy beam kind of ping-ponging back and forth between them.
Yep. And then
So
when it got close, Kerrigan's parents flew out of his hands, and it was just a big mess.
All right, Kerrigan, when we can distract him, but not for long. Get to the not the Horcrux. What was it? Damn it, losing nerd cred. Portkey. Ah, damn it! Oh, okay, you beat me. All right.
Kerrigan, take my body back to my parents.
And then Stukov goes to star in Twilight. There we go.
Yep.
We've completed the circle. It
would have been a better movie right there.
It was Twilight with the Russian missing half of his face.
Yep, running around with his shirt off, looking all sexy with big shoulder spikes.
Speaking of which, I love the way they animated his jaw, how it kind of slacked to one side with every word.
He's kind of stroking out a little bit.
Yeah. Stroking. It is terrible. Kyle, I thought you were going to say, I loved, and then something about Twilight, and I was about to jump through the internet at you.
Oh, no, I've got nothing to say there.
Okay.
The fight was okay in the second one, but other than that...
See, the second one's the only one I've seen. Is that the only one you've seen?
Is that Breaking Dawn?
I don't know the title. I just know it was the second one.
Which one was in color?
Wait, what?
Oh, yes.
Oh, you're talking about the first one, which was nothing but blue constantly.
Yeah.
That's what Oregon looks like. Not true, actually.
I wouldn't know. I've never been to Oregon. Don't plan to go there. No offense if you're listening from Oregon. I'm very sorry that your state is now defined by Stephanie Meyer novels. Nonetheless, getting back into this. Yeah, I guess that's about all we had to say on the fact. Anyways, when you beat this mission, we get an awesome fight scene. So let's roll that.
No, you're not human. You are not Jim! You are nothing! I'm everything you lost. I am everything you never had. You've already lost.
Amon lives. You will see him soon.
I don't even know where to start dissecting the badass that we just saw, but I'm gonna go with riding a nidus worm.
Yeah, it was pretty sweet.
Yeah.
The first time I saw that, I fist pumped the air, and immediately my brain went to Kyle's probably crying. He's so happy right now.
Yeah, I mean, I loved it when they did it in Mass Effect with the Thresher Maw, and this was an Nidus Worm Zerg, even better.
Yeah. I'm sure Goku's looking down at, the cloud he's riding on, and it's just like, oh, not the same.
So yeah, that was so freaking awesome. Now, the shape-shifting capabilities of Narud are now called into question for me. This is where I'm going to get real geeky for a second. What are the limitations? He can shapeshift into a ghost with a Psyblade, and all of a sudden he has a Psyblade?
Well, he might have had the Psyblade to begin with. He was serviced by the Tal'Darim, a Protoss renegade faction, as well as when he died, he kind of Protoss teleport out when we defeated him the first time in this past mission. Then he teleports back in the room where we find him take the form of Jim. Now we know that he's clearly got psionic powers. She was looking in his mind with psionic powers. So he knew about, even if he never met Jim along the way, which I'm sure somewhere in Brood War it happened.
And of course,
in Wings of Liberty, he was working with him half the time. Maybe they had a nice phone call.
Right. That's a good point. Okay. All right. That makes a lot of sense. Because also, I don't even think Kerrigan ever had a Psyblade when she was a ghost, so that would make even more sense.
Nope. And it was a big red one. Seemed to do a lot of damage after all. I mean, she is very powerful, has regenerated many times. Not to mention she can die on missions and come back 30, 60 seconds later. So this is clearly a very special, hurtful Psyblade.
Oh, she just needed a bubble bath afterwards.
In green syrup.
Yeah.
Now that's a cool part of it when, she does have to, she takes it, she does the kind of badass Orukai, like hold on to it and run herself through the back with her big old wings. And her brood, now showing compassion, grabs her and pulls her back. Granted, Zagaro's like, well, I still have much to learn from you. I don't want you dead yet.
But do you think everyone else would have let her die, like the rest of her cronies? Do you think Stukov and Abathur and...
Definitely not Stukov.
Yeah.
They seem to be pretty darn buddy-buddy.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Abathur, actually, and I have a clip of this here, but the second he meets hybrids, he wants to go batting for the other team.
Entity responsible for Stukov exceeds organism Abathur. Untenable to oppose. Recommend immediate indoctrination into foreign entities swarm.
Yeah, so Abathur would be like, "Oh, good job beating the Queen of Blades. You got a new servant. What can I get going for you?"
Can I have a sample? Yeah.
But then again, like, I don't think he would want to kill the Queen of Blades either, because he's totally a follower in like every essence.
Oh, he's a soldier.
Pun?
What? Oh,
I see what you did there.
Okay, all right. Yeah.
Like, he has absolutely no desire or even will to strike out on his own whatsoever.
Yeah.
Well, he's also attached to the ship, I think.
I don't think he's attached as much as, what's her name, the PDA lady.
Well, yeah, she lives in the ceiling.
Wait, are we talking Abathur or are we talking Stukov?
No, Stukov's free to go. I mean, he's got feet. But
Okay.
Abathur
Okay.
and the other servant, PDA, I like that.
Yeah, she'd be on like a PZA, but whatever. Yeah, I think even the part with Zagara, where she's just like, well, I don't want to kill you yet. It just seemed kind of like snappy patter. Like, she was just like, oh ho ho, like, I don't really want to kill you, no, yada yada yada. But really, they're kind of budsies. Like, she's got total bromance for him, even though it's total chicks.
Anime badass bromance where they always want to kill each other the whole time. I gotcha.
Yeah, exactly.
The one thing that upset me about this scene, and I know it would just be fan service, and I'm not sure they even want to reveal the Duran-Narud crossover, but I just wanted during one of these face punches for a flash of Duran. She jumps him, you're not Jim, just starts hitting him in the face, and it goes back and forth, and on the third punch, transforms into former Kerrigan, starts screwing with her mind that way.
True.
I mean, Narud wasn't very creative with his wording. It upset me in the beginning of the scene when they used the old classic, "It's over, Narud. No, it's just beginning." Oh, come on. That's like rhyming "yeah" with "yeah" in your rap song.
I would argue it's like rhyming any word with a word that you just made up so that it rhymes. But
yes,
okay.
or changing the tonality of the word so it's that's exactly.
I'm a fan of Eminem, where he ends it in the middle of a syllable and then picks the word back up at the beginning of the next phrase. Anyways, continue.
That just upset me from a writer's standpoint.
Yeah, no, I agree. Again, I mean, this is kind of our discussion all day. There's no guarantee this is actually Duran, so who knows?
No. It's damn close. They said at BlizzCon the backwards name thing. It's kind of there. Take what you want from it. And we'll see. I mean, he might have a whole batch of Durans waiting for us on the other side.
But if they're pulling the whole backwards name thing, that is such a trope already. You really expect them to not pull out a few other tropes like that?
That whole fight scene was just anime-tastic, so I don't know. It didn't bother me.
Yeah, it didn't really bother me. I mean, at that point, I'm just like, bring on the tropes because they're badass. Even the hybrids. The hybrid, they don't even look like they got any Zerg in them from what I could see. I mean, obviously you don't get a super huge good look at them, and they might redesign them a little bit for the next one. But they just kind of look like big, ugly Protoss.
Yeah, with like Tyrael wings. But the idea is that you have the strength of a Protoss and the mind, or wait, no, other way around. Strength of a Zerg, mind of a Protoss.
Yeah, but they're still they look kind of like the big normal Protoss that run around with huge shields and kick everybody's butts anyway. Like, what are those? I can't even remember the name of them. But like, I don't know. Like
Archons?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
They kind of look like big Archons with really, really big foreheads.
To the StarCraft noob in the show, all Protoss have shields.
Whatever. But like I mean, they even say, like, when a Zerg eats another Zerg or something like that, they get like, oh, that one had like some really cool claws that came out of his feet instead of his hand. Like, they don't even get like any cool claws or bat wings or something like that. It's kind of like the whole sci-fi movie original thing where it's just like, we've crossed frogs and snakes, and instead of just being a snake with a really big mouth and maybe some extra feet, you've got a snake that can turn invisible and grow to humongous size. Like, stuff that really, like, combining the two, you wouldn't get this. Like, would you really get a super amazing telekinetic dude, if you put a Zerg and a Protoss together, I don't see where they would get it from. But whatever. I mean, that's just me kind of like thinking too much, I guess.
All right. Okay. I think we just lost Kyle.
I think
You made too much sense, and Kyle went bye-bye.
Dang it.
Is this the second week this has happened?
I think so.
I believe it is.
Maybe it's timed.
Maybe. I don't know.
No, I'm back. I'm sorry about that.
Oh no, did we lose him again?
We might have.
No, I'm here. I'm here.
Okay. We just lost your video feed.
That was weird. Random disconnect, but I'm right back. Didn't lose internet, so...
Yeah, you sound good. I don't know what the problem is.
Skype.
I think this happened like the same exact time last time.
It did, right at about the end of the show. But,
The magic hour is what it is. Either way, we know now that something happens, and there's something important about Amon flying through space and making two races, one that was like physically superior, one that was mentally superior, and engaging them in endless war that was somehow going to give him immortality or power or exhume power in some way. That he left artifacts around. So the idea of beating the Wings of Liberty final mission and having a bunch of hybrids like hiding in the corners like, shh, okay, when all the essence flies out, we're going to take it and go.
Exactly. It's so kind of weird.
yeah.
I almost kind of wish they didn't even bother with that little tidbit and just be like, look, he's been siphoning stuff just out of thin air for a couple thousand years. He got enough. He went and did it. Boom. It makes a little bit more sense than some covert ops with your team of huge forehead guys.
They had to make Kerrigan care, though. I mean, we are in the middle of her story. It would have been weird to go to Core Hall, get our revenge, and then have this mission happen. But it feels like she would have cared more. They had to force her to care in this situation. That's why they had to personalize it with it, her being her power.
I guess. That's one way to put it. I didn't really get that out of it, but okay.
All right, fair enough. With all this, I think this will be expanded upon come Legacy of the Void.
Most certainly. And the Protoss are a much more mystical race, and we know they've said as much that it's going to be a Seven Samurai sort of story. So if you're not familiar with that, village is under attack, or in this case, an entire race on the edge of space, and you need to search the galaxy for 7 badasses who are going to defend your poor little town. One of these will probably be Kerrigan, but it makes a lot more sense why we would be going more mystical towards the end of this campaign.
Oh, yeah. And the Protoss as a culture are very steeped in ritual.
Yeah, well, right. And you're not going to kill God with guns. You can't really keep it realistic at that point.
Yes, they are. Otherwise the Terran are useless.
A little bit. That's why they're at the start.
Okay, all right, fair enough. Anyways, I think that about wraps it up for this week.
Well, before we end, last week Mike said his favorite quote from Dehaka, so I grabbed it for him. It's he's been hanging out on your ship for a long-ass time, but it's a cool quote.
Okay, play it.
I do not need a wall. I will evolve armor. I do not need a weapon. I will evolve claws.
And then I will shoot you before your claws get anywhere near me.
Yeah, but oh God, I love that voice so much. He just sounds like he's gargling a baby the whole time he's talking.
Wonderful. So that wraps up today's episode. Next week we will be finishing it. Or finishing the fight. If this was Halo, that'd be a better reference. Anyways, we'll be covering the Terran Space missions and the Core Hall missions next week. So make sure you send your emails if you want to weigh in on the conversation that is the Heart of the Swarm lore. Our email is campaignroundtable@gmail.com. You can also send in MP3 attachments or whatever if you'd like. Just make sure you keep them short and to the point. Want to help us for free? You can. Just leave us a review on iTunes. Big thanks to Glarb, awesome name, and John CP, who both left us reviews in the iTunes store this past week. It helps us get new listeners, and since we're a new podcast, that helps out a lot. So we really appreciate it. The Campaign Roundtable is a production of amove.tv, amove.tv/the It's just /Campaign Roundtable is our site. You can subscribe to the podcast on iTunes. You can catch the VODs on youtube.com/StarCast Show. We're just going to make that the A-Move YouTube at this point because it's just pointless to split subs everywhere. Catch us live Tuesday nights at 6 p.m. Eastern on amove.tv/live, and follow us on Twitter at CRT Show. You can follow me at Garrett Art, Kyle's at Kyle Ferguson, and Mike is at MSD Artist, even though he doesn't really use Twitter. He's
not once so far.
Sitting on top of 0 tweets, but you can follow him nonetheless. At the very least, you know he will not be spamming your feed.
Hey, I'm in the plus. I got more followers than I got tweets.
Yes. Check out No Moon Art for all of my stream design work and whatnot. If you need some stream graphics or if you're doing a tournament, I can help you out. So head on over there and check that out. Big thanks to our sponsors, DogHouseSystems.com. Our code is CRT, and that gets you double memory on your next rig. Plus, the computers, just as they are truly awesome. I highly recommend them. Their customer service is just top-notch. And I believe they come standard with a 3-year warranty and all the parts and whatnot. So if anything goes under, they will fix it for you. So go check them out. We thank them for their support. Guys, I will see you next week when we conclude the Heart of the Swarm Campaign Roundtable. Yeah. Thank you, chat room. We will see you at a later time.